Well, good evening and welcome to the Brookdale 8 Theaters. We have a special treat tonight. We're about to introduce a man who's worked with everyone from Kirk Douglas to Ed Wood and a few people in between. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ted V. Mikels.
Well, thank you, and thank all of you lovely folks for being here tonight. We're going to share a movie I made almost 30 years ago. Had a lot of fun making it, went all over Southern California, Catalina Island, all over the desert, Palm Springs, everywhere to shoot. And we talk about people being in movies. And after I had totally cast it, then in comes Sissy Spacek, Kathy Lee Crosby, Mary Martin, a lot of good people that would have loved to have worked on the film, and I would have loved to have had them. However, I had already cast it. So we have the cast we do, and I'm very proud of them for the hard work they did in the making of the movie. None of the girls knew any martial arts, and I have been very athletic all my life, but I didn't know any martial arts either, so I had to try to teach them how to move around to make it look like they were doing martial arts. And of course, at the time, it was before Bruce Lee and before Jackie Chan, before all of these guys, and so in the sound effects, I wanted the sound effects good and loud, like they make the Chopsaki films now, good and loud. But nobody would hear of it then, so I had to literally fight with the sound mixers because I cut all the sound effects. I do the write, produce, direct, edit, cut every scene, cut the music, cut everything. And talking about music, we were nominated and made the top 10. Didn't make the final 5, but we were in the top 10 for an Academy Award nomination for the score, and particularly our theme song, which you'll hear at the end of the movie, and that's Theme for Sabrina, sung by Solomon King. And the lyrics were by Sammy Kaye, who's big in the music industry, in the music world. He's deceased now. But in any event, in the making of the film, I only had a portion of the finance. MGM was interested in doing it, and I didn't have enough money to finish, and they looked at what I had 3 times, and I didn't have the nerve to tell them I couldn't finish because I didn't have the rest of the money. So I borrowed enough dollars, $30,000, $40,000, to finish it from my sub-distributors around the United States who wanted the picture for their territory. And I committed then the film for them to have it in their territory, for which they receive a percentage of whatever theoretically was to come to me as the creator, producer, distributor of the movie. And so when MGM saw it for the last time, they said, okay, we'll take it, we'll do it. Well, and I had asked for a big, substantial cash advance and so on. And they saw the film. A minute after I got it out of the laboratory, there were spies in the lab that called them and said, hey, you should go for this movie, right? So anyway, they called and asked to see it right away, and within an hour after they saw it, they called and said, okay, we're ready to make you the international deal. And I couldn't take it because I had already given it to all my sub-distributors across the country. And we had a lot of bad weather breaks, too. We premiered this film in Minneapolis, 1973 or 4, world premiere. I brought in Francine York, and oh, boy, we had nice banquet dinners and press parties and champagne and all, and it stormed and rained. We didn't have minus 10 degrees and snow, but we had a fierce electrical rainstorm that wouldn't let up for the whole time we played. And that happened to us in a few other cities. The first snow in Miami. We had an electrical thunderstorm in San Francisco and in Los Angeles, where you have to put up $30,000 or $40,000 just to play. And you lose the money if people can't come. You just lose it. So I couldn't recover from that. Other than that, Doll Squad could have made a big splash 28, 29 years ago. We had a lot of fun with it. The worldwide markets were very receptive to it. I think every country in the world has played it. And we just made, for the 4th time, a new deal with the United Kingdom, Britain, to put it out on DVD in England. And we just concluded that the day before I left Las Vegas, which was Monday. That morning it was all done. Anyway, I hope you'll enjoy Doll Squad. One thing I'd like to ask you to do is to, as you hear voices, especially when you don't see somebody talking and hear the voice while they're speaking, see how many times you can hear my voice. Because as the editor, after making the film as director and all these other things, when I do the edit, I have to put voices in where we don't have a voice or where we think one belongs. So after the movie, if you're still here, I'll ask you how many times you think you heard my voice. Anyway, it's a lot of fun editing a movie. That's where the movies are really made. And of course, you must remember that at the time I made this film, almost 30 years ago, we had, anytime we moved in with a camera for close-ups on lenses, we had to put the camera on a dolly because we didn't have zoom lenses. We didn't have automatic iris control so you can have a proper illumination. And this print is nearly 30 years old, so it's a little faded. The color isn't as bright and as brilliant as it was 30 years ago, but it should still be enjoyable. So, and anyway, when people ask me about Charlie's Angels, Aaron Spelling came to see this when I previewed it at 20th Century Fox. 4 years later, he comes out with Charlie's Angels, names the leading lady Sabrina, like we have here, and so on. And that's the affiliation. It's not really an affiliation, but he also read the script 4 years before they did Charlie's Angels. And our senator is similar to the Charlie and theirs. But that's probably as far as the similarity goes. We didn't have, I noticed somebody made note of the explosions, but you know, we couldn't really blow up things, and we didn't have all this digital technology that is there now where you can put an explosion on a video and make it look very real. So we had to use explosions that look a little different than they look today. But it's all part and parcel of the making of a film. So before we start, are there any questions anyone would like to ask? Nobody asking a question. Well, we'll just start the movie and hope that you enjoy it. And right at the end, when Solomon King is singing the end credits, we'll turn on the lights again and see if you have any questions then. But in the meantime, enjoy the movie. And thank you again for coming. Thank you very much. Before you run off, I just want to mention a couple of things. The film is 29 years old, and I wonder if anybody could guess how many times you might have heard my voice when I was editing the film. I had to put a voice in here and there. Anybody got any guesses? Anybody got any guesses? 10? Anybody else guess? 20 times. I'm talking. I didn't realize it until tonight. Last night I counted, I think, 13. Tonight I counted 20 places where my voice is. And that's not only counting once for each time I may have said 2 or 3 times, like, give yourselves up, you will not be around, and so on like that. But I only counted that as one, you know, so 20 times. Anyway, it was a lot of fun making. But in the event that any of you are interested, we finished Corpse Grinders 2. We should have it out before long. We're waiting to try to make an all-around release situation with it that will cover everything from DVD and cable, and we're hoping maybe it'll even have a chance at theatrical. And the days of Papa Mama theaters and small circuits and chains are gone. So now you have to deal with the big people, and they're not all that easy to deal with. In fact, very difficult. They have their own movies, and they want to get all the money out of a box office and keep it. They don't want to give any to guys like me. They want to keep it all. So Corpse Grinders 2 is far out, way beyond Corpse Grinders 1, which we're showing again at midnight here, the midnight show. The last time it'll be shown on the midnight show here is tonight. And we hope that if you haven't seen it, you'll see it, and that you will look forward to seeing Corpse Grinders 2, which starts on another planet, and the people are starving to death. And they're cat people, descendants of the cat people of Atlantis with great big long ears. And, of course, when Atlantis became inundated, they made it off to this planet called Seta. But the neighboring planet of Traxxas wants to take over Seta and destroy all the inhabitants, so they have to find a way to get to Earth to find food they like. Obviously, cats only like cat food, and the only food they found they could like was lotus cat food made by the nephews of the guys who made the original cat food. And, of course, the main ingredient was cadavers. Anyway, in the lobby, in case anyone is interested, I've gathered a small collection of 10 or 12 or 13 of my films, and We've got some LPs out there if you want them for 10, meaning long plays and standard plays 15. They're all special prices because if you buy them through the catalogs. And we've got Corpse Grinders 2. And it's a limited, it's a pre-release, director's cut, limited edition collector's copy, numbered and signed. And what it is the whole movie followed by a 10-minute documentary showing where I talk about how I made the movie, and then 8 minutes of the choice scenes, a preview out of the movie. And they're, according to the people that want to distribute it, they're putting it on the internet or the web and their catalogs for $39.95. We got them at half price. Come from me. But soon they won't be available. The minute we make an international deal, they won't be available except to whomever we make a deal with. So any questions before we wrap up? Anybody have a question about anything? Anything at all? How cold is it? It's too hot. I'm burning up.
Ted, could you tell me about the house that you used for the film?
Oh, Zsa Zsa Gabor's. That was Zsa Zsa Gabor's house. However, there were many other houses there too. And fortunately, with Zsa Zsa Gabor, she just had a falling out with her husband and left the house, and so in charge of somebody else. But we fell into a lot of locations like that. The Institute of Mental Physics, not metaphysics, but mental physics, was where we shot all the action with the steeples and the chase and the girls machine gunning everything and everybody. And of course, we couldn't afford stuntmen. We had guys who tried hard. We had one or two who were stuntmen, but the rest of the guys just tried hard to learn what to do on time. And as with the voices, I had to step in and get knocked around and beat up a couple of times by the girls because I've always been an acrobat. So it was fun. But you see, a lot of guys came because girls were there. And they just wanted to get into costume and get shot up because there was a lot of girls in the movie. But unfortunately, we shot up all of our costumes. So when we shoot them in the front, they'd have to get shot in the back the next time. And then if we couldn't hide the holes. So anyway, like in Mission Kill Fast, we finished just recently, and Doc Wendy, Shanti, who, she's here, but she's not well right now. She had a lot of dental work, and she's in severe pain up in the projection booth. But in any event, she asked everybody at a rap party, everybody who was shot and killed at once in the movie, raise your hand. So everybody raised their hand, crew, everybody. And then she said, everybody that was shot and killed 2 times, raise your hand. Everybody raised their hand. And after she said 3 times, we lost a few because there were no more uniforms, and there were some who were even shot and killed 5 times. Makes me think of the Indian fighter. I was an Indian fighter, and I was pretty acrobatic, and I was riding horses bareback then and shooting flaming arrows. So when Kirk Douglas and Andre de Toth, the director, came to town, they made me the archery expert. And I got to shoot all the flaming arrows that set the wagons on fire. And the funny part about it is that I played an Indian, bear-skinned Indian with a wig, and they spray you in the morning with this ice-cold Indian-colored spray, Oh, man, you lift your arms, and they'd hit you with that cold spray. But that's what you had to do to be an Indian extra in that movie. But since I shot flaming arrows, I was always at the head of the Indians. So in addition to shooting flaming arrows, I was ahead of the Indians that were pulling the wagon that was on fire into the parapets to set the fort on fire to drive everybody out. This is an Indian fighter with Kirk Douglas, I guess I said. Anyway, so not only was I an Indian, but because things are shot on different days, I got to be a settler inside of the fort wearing settler's clothing, carrying buckets of water to the firemen or the guys up on the top of the thing who were putting out the fire that I started. But at the same time, on a different day, I'm on the parapets in a cavalry outfit shooting bullets at the Indians, of which I was one. And then I was another guy carrying the buckets of bullets to me, who was shooting at the Indian, who was me, who put the thing on fire. That's the way movies are made. Anyway, that was fun. Well, thank you again so much for coming. And if you have any interest in cassettes, we've got a few with us. And like I say, the new Corpse Grinders 2 is a keepsake item because it is a number collector's item. So thank you very much.